And we are live. Welcome, people. Welcome, listeners. Welcome, watchers. My name is Marcus BC, and this is the very first episode of the Story Showcase. And today I am with actually the author of the story that I'm showcasing today, Edward Orford. Let's give a round of applause for Edward Orford. Clap, 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 clap. How are you doing, my friend?
Yay. I'm very fine, thank you.
All right.
Yeah, I'm just mostly flattered that you're inviting me to be on as the as anybody who's sort of seen the summary after my stories that this is my first, foray into creative writing in a, very, very long time, like a quarter of a century. And I've been very flattered that people have been finding this story to be something that people like to listen to or like to read. So thank you very much for having me.
It's no problem because your story is quite amazing. I mean, fist bump a it's fist bump
Pinecest.
a Pinecest story. Is that the full story? What it's called? A fist bump, a Pinecest story is just fist bump.
I put the brackets part of the title just so that people know what it is right from when reading the title.
So yes, fist bump is, in my opinion, a critically acclaimed story. It is literally coming out of left field from what I could tell, from what I've been told and what I've known about you, that was your first story. This is your first story.
Yes, uh, very quick background is that I have, um, well, no desire or experience in writing before this. It's sort of a inspiration that came out of nowhere. I was for the most part, just a closeted, reader of erotic fiction. Um, that I do everything is very, very private. Keeping it away from the fact that I have a family. I have a wife of 18 years and a young, barely teenage daughter who probably wouldn't appreciate finding out the the particular desires of erotica that I happen to have, which thankfully I also keep completely separate from my real life. But basically, I have a very narrow, shall we say, focus on what I find to be erotic in the fiction that I've been reading. This will take just a second. What are all the different adjectives that I want to use here? Okay, the fiction that I want to read is underage, but not too underage. You know, teenager level. That's pretty much it. Heterosexual, consensual, brother sister incest, and preferably, if everything's perfect, twins. There you go.
Oh, well, it's what it's what we enjoy. Me personally, I enjoy erotica in all its forms, most of its forms. I like if it gets me going, it gets me going. If it's fantastical, like I've said it. I reviewed the story before on adult fan fiction and specifically said that it is fantastical because it
Well,
is.
thank you.
People need to read it now. Speaking on like Fistbone, do you mind giving us a quick summary of your story from the writer's perspective?
Sure. So it's told into the universe of the Disney cartoon show Gravity Falls. Um, as a quick aside, Gravity Falls was the one thing that sort of turned me into a bit of a creative writer, just because the characters of Dipper and Mabel Pines fit perfectly into my framework of what a young incestuous couple would be. So the show itself is great all on its own, but the fact that it created this embodiment of exactly the type of a relationship that a brother and sister, a young brother and sister should have, is sort of what turned me into, well, I got to write about this. So I envisioned that the story takes place at the end of the following summer. That in the storyline of the show takes place in a summer as they are 12 years old, and so I put into the story that their birthday is at the end of the summer. So I made the story so that it was their celebration of their 14th birthday at the end of the following summer, and they decide that they've saved up their money and they're going to have a big birthday celebration day, and they had planned for their great uncle Stan to drive them to Portland, Oregon, to the big city to have this. And Stan decides, no, he can't take all that time off. So he'll just take them to Oregon. He'll book them into a hotel, and then he'll send his assistant to go pick them back up on Sunday afterwards. So they have the entire day to themselves. And serendipity happens. They discover lots of things about each other and have basically discovered their love for each other and have consummated everything by the end of that particular day. And that's, the story is about how it all happens, what their emotions are, what leads them to it, and what happens at the end of it as a result of this happening.
Okay, from just that, it makes me want to go read the story again. It really does. It's just the way that you bring it into reality to bring it, because most of the time when you read an incest story or something like that, you gotta suspend your you have to take time to suspend your disbelief, and it's like, because that's what everybody has to do when they read a story. They need to suspend their disbelief, but your story doesn't require disbelief to be suspended. You latch on to the, what do you call it? You latch on to the known fact of, first of all, they're twins, and twins. I haven't done a research. I'm not a scientist, or I haven't done like any kind of things, but I'm pretty sure 65% of twins have some form of like incestuous relationship, even if it's not to the point where it's like, they're like literally fucking or something like that. But if it's just like I don't know, uh, you like I don't know what the definition of it call it, but I'll show you mine if you show me yours type thing going on. All twins go through that, because I feel like 65% of twins go through that, and so I think you used their, because they have a very good relationship in the show. They take care of each other. They're very close, and you took that and you used that in your story, and you mastered it. I think you hit it spot on. There's no like, oh, what, like, there's no like, oh, really, is that, there's no
I
need
tr-
to suspend your disbelief for the story. The story
yeah,
is written.
I tried to keep them as true to the characters as they're portrayed in the show, and as I could. But again, leading back to what drew me to this particular show in the first place is the fact that it didn't take very much, because they are portrayed so sweetly and so almost soulmates, I would say, is almost how they're already portrayed as. They're best friends. And I don't think, if that is the relationship that you know, 12-year-old twins would have in real life, it wouldn't take much for something like what happened in my story to actually happen, I don't think.
Well, your story is extremely popular. It's got over 3,000 hits so far on adult fan fiction, which is very, very impressive for a first story. I mean, you know, uh, I wish I believe it should have like a lot more. I mean, if you could take the chance to maybe try to get it out there on fanfiction.net, but fanfiction.net's a dangerous place, because you can easily get like, because they don't allow at all M-rated stories, but they have M-rated ratings and people still do it. But it depends on what, if there's like a troll might think. But you might take, I would say that you need to take the chance and put this on fanfiction.net to see how big it explodes, because I feel like it will.
Well, I kind of looked into that already. It's not, the popularity part isn't as important to me. I think that mostly what I don't want to do is to have any kind of like, I've got an account over there, but I haven't posted anything under it. But it's under the same name. And I don't know, would you get your account banned if the story got banned too? I don't know what happened, but it's not that important to me. I do have it posted. I do have it on Tumblr as well. So if you look for the tags on Tumblr, you'd probably find my story there too.
Excellent. For personal experience, I can say that they don't delete your profile. Like I got my profile that we had in 2011 got deleted, not because of the stories, but because of a whole different other situation. And it was nuts, because I had stories on this profile that I have right now deleted, but I haven't got my profile banned. But I get what you mean. Um, can I ask you, like, were you like completely surprised with the reception of your story and the reviews that you've gotten so far for it?
Yeah, from within just hours of posting it, I posted it on March the 21st, and that was after, as I said, I sort of decided to write it. I came up with the idea on about the end of February to the beginning of March for the story, and it rattled around in my head for about a week. And I started typing on the 7th of March, and 2 weeks later, I finished it and sort of decided on a whim, hey, I think this is actually decent enough that somebody might like it. So I Googled, found AFF.org, adult fan fiction, and created the account and posted it all within an hour. I had never been to the site before I posted it. Fan fiction, as I just finished telling you, it's completely new to me. All the fiction, all the erotic fiction that I ever read before this was, for instance, like ASSTR, places like that, where the concept of getting yourself uh, into fan fiction, I never bothered trying because I figured I had to be like completely invested in the universe of that show or that comic or whatever before I could feel like I could enjoy the fiction that was around it. And I didn't really invest myself into any show that I got, aroused by until I found Gravity Falls. So fan fiction just wasn't a thing for me. And I wrote the story completely, from whole cloth. Like it wasn't inspired by any other fan fictions that you'll read anywhere else. It was just the TV show, nothing else. So, um, but it was, I don't know. Like I said, I think given what I've read since, though, I'm probably gonna refrain from doing fanfiction.net just because that's their policy. They don't want overly racy and even if I rewrote the sexy parts, the just the topic matter of 14-year-old incest probably would be by itself going to get it banned. So it's not worth it.
Yeah, I understand. Well, what people didn't know, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people do know, that there's actually a sequel out for it right now. If you don't mind, if you could talk about that sequel briefly.
Yeah, well, following that, the initial reviews that came in very, very quickly that were positive, people started asking for a sequel, and I wrote it not intending for there to be a sequel. It was a standalone story. But when people started asking for it, and that sort of, got my ego going a little bit, I said, well, maybe I can. So, um, Fist Bump 2 um, takes place immediately following the events of Fist Bump as they head home back to California after their summer vacation. And whereas the first story was very romantic aimed, and along with the smut, the second one comes a far more angstier point of view, and I decided I wanted to explore uh, a different feel to it, and um, the the end result, however, has been that I'm stuck about halfway through at the moment. I've posted 6 chapters, and I've been stuck unhappy with chapter 7 for a little while. I know exactly what has to happen, but the angst gets pretty horrific, and I'm trying to make it bearable. And I've been rewriting it a few times where I'm going to be able to release it, but it will get finished. Chapters 1 through 6 are already posted. Still at fanfiction, adultfanfiction.org, and uh, I've got it on Tumblr as well. And I've been pleasantly surprised with the number of followers and likes that I've been getting there as well.
Well, I'm not gonna go into too much detail about that story because that's gonna be another episode showcase in the future. But however, from what I can say, I want to honestly and positively rate your story. Some positives. I don't think there's a lot of cons with your story, the fist bump, but I gotta look at the positive. The positive is one, it's a good read. I mean, originally, from what I remember, that it was immediately. like originally just one long, super long chapter that you broke down into
Yes.
10?
A user, Gray Nico, suggested that I break it up into chapters, and it wasn't exactly the right idea. So I found good breakpoints, and it broke up into 10 chapters, and I think that does definitely make it more readable.
And so it's a good read. It's not too slow. It's not too slow, but it's not too fast. It's not immediately. They don't jump into each other's pants within the first couple scenes or nothing. It's a good build up. It's a good build up to it. There you have your whole. You go through that little. I remember there's a. I don't want to spoil too much into it. There's a scene where like they after they get their McDonald's and they wake up in the morning and like most of the time that's how they have their own like shower. They have their own like their own habits of where they wake up and what they do in the morning. And I felt like, oh man, I remember that because I had those exact same habits when I woke up. Like, because my sister would, she'd always take the most time in the restroom doing whatever she was doing, and I just felt like I felt a connection with the story. Like, oh yeah, man, I know I can relate. I can do that. And that's one great thing about the story is the ability to relate, for people to relate to it. And so that's another plus on this story. And I'm not gonna
What
give.
was your sister and what was your sister doing in the shower?
I don't know. I shudder to think about what my sister's doing because my sister scares me. She's I would admit my sister's the only person in the entire universe that scares me. So, my older sister, my younger sister's
See,
kind of not a problem. She's just annoying, but my older sister scares me.
see
But
chapter 3 to determine why I asked that question. But yes.
yes. But as I could say, if I want to give this story rating from 1 star to 5 star rating, I'm going to go ahead and give this story. Let's see, ooh, 4.75. Now, why not?
Well,
Why don't I give it a complete 5 star rating? Um, I can give it a 5 star rating. You know what? No, what? I want to go back on that 4.75 because I can't honestly find anything bad about this
there's
story.
still a there's still a few typos and missing small words. Fairy Slayer pointed out the fact that an author, when he reads his own work, often just passes by and skips those little things, and I've corrected quite a few of them. But um, Fairy Slayer put it out and made audio versions, like through text to speech program, and when you hear the computer read your words, it points out pretty obviously and clearly where the missing words or where the extra words are. So I'm gonna have to listen to those so that I can correct all the rest of the little things that are in there.
Yeah, yeah, but typo aside, I mean, like you can't unless it becomes like typos, unless it's like story breaking. Like for instance, if you have a story that instead of saying, "Oh, the girl shivered as he ran his fingers up within her inner thigh" or something like that, if you had like a whole bunch of typos where that entire little paragraph thing I just talked about was broken and unreadable, then that would negatively affect the uh the outcome, the outcome of the grade. But from that, I gotta give this story a 5 star rating because for one, it's the first story. It's your first story. It's a great story, and not everybody's first stories are the greatest stories. I can say that my first story was not my greatest story. It was quite not good. I mean, it was not good. So I gotta give you a 5 star ratings on that. I gotta give you 5 stars. It was a great effing story. Still is a great effing story. You are a great writer, and I cannot wait to see what other projects you will come up with once you get done with the Fist Bump series of stories. Um,
Well, thank you very much.
all right, that is no problem
Uh,
whatsoever. So people who are listening, this story gets a 5 star, fantastical review of ratings. Fantastical. You need to read this story before you die. Fantastical, fantastical, fantastical. This has been Marcus BC, and with my amazing guest Edward Orford. Edward Orford, would you
Thank you
like to
very
say
much for having me.
anything?
Just like I said, I'm doing this on a lark. It's something that has come out of left field for me, and I appreciate that some people seem to like what I'm writing, and I'll keep doing it as long as I'm able to.
All right. Well, I just want to thank you for coming on this to the show. I know, like, I know anonymity, writers need their anonymity, but I just want